one and all, I'm Alexis, aka The Soft Reader, and I'm here today to review the audiobooks numbers 11 through 15 that I've read this year. With number 11, I actually listened to that at the very end of April, and that was the audiobook for The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Albertalli, and this was read by Ariel Delisle. And I would give this audiobook a 4 out of 5 stars, but I do think that the narrator did a really good job, more than anyone else, really encapsulating who Molly was. I feel like she really delivered on Molly's character and on, you know, the particular way that Molly says things and the emotion that she says them with, and getting angry when Molly got angry. And I really felt like she really delivered on those aspects. So one of my main complaints about this book is that I do feel like it is a little juvenile, and I feel like the audiobook kind of really played that up for me as well. I feel like the way that the narrator responded to things as Molly really sold me on Molly being a little on the immature side. So yeah, I feel like this audiobook fit this book really well, and I definitely would be interested to read other things by Ariel Delisle in the future. The next audiobook I listened to was Dear Martin by Nick Stone. It is read by Dion Graham, and I definitely think that audiobook was a good choice for this one because I think Dion Graham is a phenomenal narrator. I think he really did a great job of sounding like a teenager. He really brought Justice's character to life for me, much more so than I think would have been possible if I had read the actual physical version of the book. I did say that the one complaint I had about this book was that I didn't really love the writing style, and the writing style was a little too simplistic for me. And I feel like Dion Graham's voice delivering Justice's thoughts to me worked a lot more efficiently than if I had read it physically because of that reason. And Dion Graham, like I said, he just sounded like such a teenager. And like I easily could have believed that the voice reading to me was a 17-year-old because he really delivered in, like, you know, the parts where Justice was angry and the parts where Justice was fed up. And it just sounded really believable for me. I would probably give this audiobook a 4.5 stars. The next audiobook I listened to was The Astonishing Color of After by Emily X.R. Pan, read by Stephanie Sue. And this was another audiobook that was really successful for me. I would give Stephanie Sue's narration probably a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Most of this book really is told from Lee's inner thoughts, and we do get character dialogue, but most of this book is Lee's thoughts. And I feel like Stephanie did a great job really bringing Lee, the main character, to life for me. I always recommend listening to audiobooks that feature words that are in another language, like The Astonishing Color of After, because typically they're always picked to be read by people who know the language, who know how to pronounce those words, and it just adds a very special and beautiful layer to the mix of listening to the audiobook. And even me, who knows how Mandarin is supposed to be pronounced, I feel like I got so much more out of it listening to the audiobook and listening to Stephanie Sue's actual pronunciations of the words, and listening to her do accented voices for characters who had accents. And yeah, I definitely recommend this one on audiobook. I feel like the audiobook for it was really beautifully performed, and like I said, the added perk of listening to an audiobook read by somebody who knows how to pronounce things is a huge perk. The next audiobook I listened to was My So-Called Bollywood Life, which is written by Nisha Sharma, and it is read by Priya Iyer, and I loved this audiobook. This audiobook was so good, and for very similar reasons to The Astonishing Color of After, Priya Iyer knows how to say the Hindi and the Punjabi words that are said in this book, and you can tell, because if I tried to read this book, I would have had no idea how to pronounce those things. So it's such an added bonus of hearing somebody who knows how these words are supposed to be said, saying them. It's so much more convincing for the story, and it's so much more magical, and it really immerses you in the story. And there's a lot of Hindi and Punjabi words that are spoken in this book, because it does follow our main character Winnie, who's from an Indian American family, and she loves Bollywood films, so of course she doesn't translate any of the Bollywood titles, so having Priya Iyer say them was a phenomenal, like, bonus, because I was like, I would have had no idea how to say these words. I also just think that Winnie in general in this book is such a great main character, and I feel like Priya Iyer did such a great job bringing Winnie's character to life. And she did voices for all of the different characters, which you guys know I really love. And overall, I just thought this was another really great audiobook. Probably would give it a 4.5, possibly even a 5 stars, just because I genuinely just think this book was so much fun, and listening to it on audio was so much fun. The last audiobook I'm going to talk about in this video was that I listened to a book I'd already previously read, and that was The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins, and the audiobook was read by Carolyn McCormick. Now you guys know I'm very picky about audiobooks. I typically won't read audiobooks that I don't think I'm gonna enjoy. This was one exception because I really wanted to read this book, but I needed to listen to it on audio because that was just more convenient for me at the time. But I did not like this audiobook. Like I said, it was read by Carolyn McCormick, and I just did not love her portrayal of Katniss. I feel like her voice to me was way too old sounding to be Katniss, and I know that that might sound a little harsh, but Carolyn McCormick sounds like she has a voice for somebody twice Katniss's age. It felt like I was listening to somebody read Katniss rather than it felt like I was listening to Katniss, if that makes sense. She also chose to emphasize very strange words in her narration, like words that I know for a fact weren't italicized in text. And so it left me very confused a lot of the times that I was listening, because I was like, why are you like emphasizing that word when it's not even the focal point of the sentence? And so like that was another thing that really bothered me. And she really didn't make an effort to do different voices for any of the characters other than Effie, which, like, to be fair, like, how could you read Effie's lines and not do a voice for Effie? But yeah, I just really did not enjoy this audiobook. I would probably give it a 1 to 2 stars audiobook. Like, I rarely listen to audiobooks that I know I'm not gonna like because I just don't have time for that. But I just did not enjoy this audiobook at all. Alrighty guys, so those were the audiobooks that I listened to this year, numbers 11 through 15. I probably will have another one of these videos coming up in the next couple of weeks because I've already listened to 3 more audiobooks, because apparently I'm on a roll with audiobooks right now. But you guys know I love audiobooks. I always love to have audiobook recommendations in the comments. If you like what I do, I upload videos on Monday, Wednesdays, and Saturdays, and I'll see you guys soon with another one. Bye!